if we don't warm up, there's a chance I could pull a hammy.
Yeah, you don't remember the cable guy?
Yeah. Don't want to pull a hammy.
You guys play here too?
That's Steven. A mouthpiece.
That's Steven. I'm his cable guy. We met on a routine installation.
Cable guy was super ahead of its time when it came out.
I remember seeing that in the theater in 1996, and like being like most people, I think I was disappointed the first time I saw it. Me too. Because it was so different than anything that Jim Carrey had been doing up until that point. Now I think it's one of his great movies. It's
awesome.
There are so many scenes in that movie, and just the running through line where you have Ben Stiller plays, the twins. He's on trial for murdering his twin brother,
right.
and it just.
I think he looked Asian.
The Sam, what was it? I can't remember his name. Sam Sweet.
Sam Sweet.
Yeah.
Trial.
Yeah.
He looked Asian.
I think they were speaking Asian.
I think they looked Asian. They sounded Asian. I think they were Asian.
It's so wrong.
Cable guy.
Yeah, it was a good movie. And
what's his name? Stevie? What's Matthew Broderick?
His name was Steven. I can't remember his last name.
But... Oh, and I love Jim Carrey's has all these other aliases.
Yeah.
That's what's great.
Chip Douglas. And then after the big karaoke party and Matthew Broderick's like, I really needed that night. I really did. And Jim Carrey says, my treat. It was my treat. It was my treat. And he's like, what do you mean she was a prostitute? Tell me you're joking.
Yeah, because he's like, no, next time you get me.
Yeah. Listen, what do you mean? He goes, I already tried her out. And believe me, I'm as healthy as a horse, not a drip.
What a character. Awesome movie.
Yeah, it was a good. Hey, Bill, I just realized we're actually live. This is the DanaBuckler show.
We always end up doing that, but I didn't want to pull a hammy, so we warmed up and then got into Cable Guy.
Absolutely.
I mean, it happens sometimes.
Absolutely. So welcome to another episode of When Movies Were Movies, talking about When Movies Were Movies. Cable Guys, that's just fantastic film.
I love it.
1996.
An underrated classic with you have to rewatch.
It's interesting to call The Cable Guy an underrated movie because it was... I remember when it was coming out, everyone was like, this is the next Jim Carrey movie. At that point, he had done, Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, The Mask, Ace Ventura 2. He had been in Batman Forever. At this point, he's making $20 million a picture. And do you know who directed Cable Guy? Ben Stiller.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And you can feel the Ben Stiller kind of in it a little bit. Some of the writing and jokes.
It was really, and Leslie Mann plays Matthew Broderick's girlfriend. She's married to Judd Apatow. There's so much going on in that movie. That movie is literally 10 years ahead of its time.
Good dark comedy.
So when movies are movies, we like to recommend films that came out usually about at least 25 to 30 years ago, maybe even 40 years ago.
I know we've gone deep. 70s before, so there's a range here, but there is definitely movies that you can't make today.
And in previous episodes we've talked about films that just wouldn't be made today, not because necessarily the content, but or because they were a product of its time, just that studios would not waste their time,
or they wouldn't touch it.
They wouldn't touch it.
They're scared.
Yeah.
They're scared to upset one person.
Yeah, and that one person gets on Twitter and causes a fuss, and next thing you know,
and then you get millions of followers if one person has no idea what they're talking about, and then now everyone's mad.
Fuck cancel culture. Seriously.
I think that social media gets, I don't want to say blamed, but people use it as an excuse. It's not reality, right? Just let it be a venue to talk, but it's not real. Athletes get stuck in the social media thing, or actors, and they get negative. It's not negative. It's not real, right? Yeah. So throw it in the garbage and use it as it is, but it's not the Bible. It's not the gospel. It's not real, right? Well, I don't know what you think. The negative stuff, I think, is garbage. It's just fake.
Whatever little positive things you can say about social media, which to me has been a wonderful tool to connect to people that listen to this podcast.
Yeah, there's good stuff, right?
And reconnect with people I went to high school with.
That's awesome.
That's all great. But unfortunately, the positive stuff is trumped huge by the negative connotation of social media, because it has created a world in which people do not feel accepted unless they're, unless a post they put on Instagram gets 100 likes. Like it's you know what? I don't even want to go down this road.
No, I know.
If I didn't have the podcast to promote, I don't think I'd even have social media accounts anymore. Like it's so toxic.
It is bad, and the little bit of people that I really want to connect with, like let's just say Facebook, is a handful of friends that already know what I'm doing, and my parents, so I could just text them or call them and tell them what I'm doing. So, but the other stuff I use, so when I mention TikTok and when I mention that I'm on Twitter or Facebook, I'm hoping to build a base because we do a lot of giving back.
Yeah. And
hopefully the one group that I'm really connected with, we end up giving, we give money to charity, like usually around 10 grand a year. That's what I'm hoping my social media base eventually gives me. It's just an avenue to show the good that we're doing. But it's not this negative talk or not to review people that don't want to be reviewed or whatever. I'm using it to make things better.
The biggest thing for me, I think the thing that annoys me the most, is on a daily basis, especially Facebook. Facebook's the biggest culprit at this one, is the blatantly false information that is on display. And I am not even talking politics. We don't talk politics on the DanaBuckler show.
Right.
But do you know how many fake movie posters I see for upcoming sequels?
That's a bad problem right now.
It's and the thing is that people I know will share this with. I can't wait for this to happen.
It's not real.
And then I feel it's my duty to inform them, to be the buzzkill and say, listen, just so you know, like that's complete bullshit.
When they opened it up to like advertising shoved into personal threads, then that's where this has come, and it's been a huge increase in the last 8 months, 12 months, where just fake stuff.
Yeah, it's just
fake photos, fake photo shoot, whatever.
Anyway, you know what? Anyway, so we're talking about a period of time before social media even existed. So, Bill, you know the rules of the game. When movies are movies, I have no idea what films you're going to mention to me. I have no notes. I do not have my iPad in front of me. I do not have anything other than just the recall in my brain. So,
yes, sir.
What do you got?
Hey, I love throwing curveballs at you. Did you see the Brady roast?
I did see.
That's another tangent, but let's table that. But I don't want to forget, so I want to throw it out there.
Yes, I did see it.
Yes,
all 3.5 hours of it.
I watched it live, by the way. Yeah. Did you watch it live?
I didn't. I watched it the next morning.
So they re-edited it. They cut out. They cut a few
things out, but anyway. but it was still more than 3 hours long. The version I saw.
Speaking of roasting, there's a movie from I don't even know the year, but it's kind of a roasting of one of the most famous sci-fi movies of all time. So it's not really a roast. It's an homage to, something like, Rob Main might love.
Right.
Yeah. So, and earlier we were kind of chit-chatting about one of my old one of my old favorite comedians of all time, John Candy.
Yeah.
And some of his movies are just absolute classics that'll live on forever. And some of them you couldn't make again because it can upset some people. And, but anyway, one of them is just a huge homage to Star Wars.
Oh, you're talking about Spaceballs.
Yeah, Spaceballs.
Spaceballs.
Well,
I'm going to say so. I'm going to make a controversial statement here.
Okay.
You ready?
Go.
The last great Mel Brooks movie.
Wow. Yeah.
Like I'm not a fan of Robin Hood Men in Tights at all. Like
kind of silly.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Spaceballs is...
It's a classic Mel Brooks movie, no doubt.
And listen, he's so ahead of his time because there's a scene in Spaceballs, which is a complete lampoon of all the science fiction movies.
All
Obviously,
of them, right?
There's references to Aliens, to Star Trek, to references to all of those movies. But it's primarily a parody of Star Wars.
Yep.
And there's a scene when Lone Star, Bill Pullman, and John Candy, who plays a half human, half dog called Barf, they're searching for kind of like the Jedi Master, and his name is Yogurt. And when they do finally find him, he shows you all the Spaceball merchandise, like the lunch boxes and the T-shirts and all that stuff.
Brilliant.
And so he's so ahead of his time because, like, that's how.
That's where it's come to.
That's where Lucas was made all his money.
Right.
Like when he made Star Wars, like the first Star Wars, he gave up he didn't really make any money off the actual box office return of the first Star Wars. But what he did walk away with was the rights to the merchandising and the rights to the sequels. Okay? So it became, when you get to Empire and Jedi, there are so many crazy creatures and aliens because he was going to make toys out of each and every one of them.
Everything. Yes.
And he made hundreds of millions of dollars off the merchandising. And there's a nod to that in Spaceballs where, Yogurt says, like, that's what this is all about.
Right.
It's all about merchandising. That's one aspect of the movie that I really appreciated because Mel Brooks is he's such a genius.
He is. And he weaves in stuff that you can't weave in anymore.
No, God, there's that scene when they're looking for the princess and they're looking for Lone Star on the desert planet, and Dark Helmet says, I want them to comb the desert.
They got the giant comb.
And they got the giant combs. And you see each comb, and then the one's a pick.
Yeah, that's great.
And then, you see Dark Helmet. He's wearing like beige, like safari outfit with a white helmet. And he's like got a megaphone. He's like, did you find anything? He goes to the guys holding the pick. Did you find anything? They're like, we ain't found shit.
Combing the desert with a giant comb.
Tell him to comb the desert.
It's fantastic. I love when he tries to drink coffee.
Oh, yeah.
And he just hits the helmet, I think. Yeah.
But everything about that movie. Okay, so I'll be the first to tell you, not every joke lands. But the ones that do really do.
They land, right?
They really do.
And it isn't a classic John Candy movie. The couple more I want to kind of talk about are more John Candy, but he's in this, and there's a group of individuals that live out there in the world that probably think Spaceballs is the greatest comedy of all time. So
yeah.
Anyway,
I'd be curious someday to know what Rob Main thought about.
Yeah, well, maybe if we could get a hold of the guy. The guy's busy these days. He opened a business.
Don't be surprised if he calls in. Every time we bring his name up, that guy always calls in.
He used to call every time.
Yeah, it was freaky.
It was strange.
We'd be recording and then he would just call in.
Well, we'll see.
So
we'll see.
But Spaceballs is a good one. What else do you have?
So John Candy.
Yeah.
Okay. R.I.P. Loved everything that he ever did, even the bad ones.
He was young when he passed away. He was like 43, 44 years old, 1994.
Speaking of the Brady roast, one of the roasters, what's the guy, the machine? Whatever that
Bert
dude.
Kreischer.
Oh, yeah, he's funny. He's from Florida.
Yeah.
Went to Florida State, loved the Bucks, big Bucks fan.
Yeah.
Funny guy.
He was at the casino a couple months ago when we were there.
Was he wearing a shirt?
He was wearing a shirt. Now, I was off playing a machine, and my girlfriend and her friend ran into him.
Okay.
And it wasn't until the next morning when she's like, hey, do you know this guy? And she's got a picture with Bert Kreischer. And I'm
Beautiful.
like, when did you take this picture? She's like, last night. I'm like, where was I? We don't know where you were. I had a few drinks.
Dana was knee deep in a blackjack table somewhere.
I didn't know what I was doing.
So, dude's funny, but he's getting roasted. You know how the roasters get roasted by whoever's got their microphone, and he starts getting roasted by one of them, and I forget who it was, but they're roasting him that he's like the last great fat comic that's not true to fat comics because he doesn't do drugs. He only has sex with his wife. Did you hear this joke?
Yep.
And if you hear him, because everyone that was on that roast gets on a podcast like the next day. Yeah. This roast was huge, as you know, but he's actually reading the while he's getting roasted. He goes, he's even saying to himself, I'm an idiot. So if you really watch him when he's getting roasted, he's reading the teleprompter of, I think it's one of the chicks roasting him. He's reading her lines. So you see him lip reading. He's an idiot, but he knows that he's an idiot. It's great. But like John Candy's kind of one of those big comics that just kind of, I don't think he was John Belushi or Chris Farley. But
no, he didn't have the drug problem,
right?
But he had his vices were smoking, drinking, and overeating.
Right, and that's kind of the homage of the roast to Kreischer. He doesn't do any of that. He's just fat.
Yeah.
And Candy was just live life. He lived the way he lived. And on screen, he was just bigger than big and funny as hell. And anyway, Uncle Buck's one of the movies that, reminds me of my father a little bit. And my whole family always said that Uncle Buck was like similar to my dad, and is very similar to what John Candy, I think real life in that character. I don't know. And John Hughes, I think that's a John Hughes movie, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So, and it's one he wrote specifically for John Candy.
Exactly.
And,
right.
and it's Uncle Buck is one of these films where, and it's been covered on the podcast before, but it bears repeating. Like, it's the perfect John Candy movie because, for those who haven't seen the movie, it's about this family that has just moved to the Chicago area from Indiana, and they've got 2 kids. Or they've got 3 kids. The wife's father has a heart attack. They have to leave suddenly. They don't want to take the kids with them. They're trying to find a babysitter, someone to look after the kids. They can't find anyone. So, it's the husband's brother, Buck, and the wife does not want him there. And then we're introduced to Buck, and we understand why.
Yeah.
And Uncle Buck. And he's just terrific in that movie. But he's terrific because even by the standards that is, the quote unquote norms where, if you're in your 40s, you should be married and have kids and have a home and be a homeowner and have a successful career. And Uncle Buck has none of those attributes.
0.
But he's still a lovable, likable guy.
Exactly. And that's John Candy.
And we're rooting for him.
Yes.
And he's great in this movie because much like his character Del Griffin in 1987's, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, the guy's street smart. He understands how the world works.
Yep.
He's not living in a bubble. He gets it. Uncle Buck is sort of like, what if Del Griffin was even more irresponsible?
Right.
Like he's waiting to get the tip to go down and place a bet at the horse track.
Not for your 9 and 10-year-old raising, but it gives that 9 and 10-year-old some life lessons.
Yeah.
Right.
So unlike the kid's parents, Buck is street smart.
Yep.
And a hustler, but also genuinely cares about these children. So to the point where, when the daughter, the high school girl, Tia, when she goes, missing at a party, he goes to find her.
It's great. Oh, it's fantastic.
And we're just, glossing. We're barely scratching the surface.
When he goes to school,
of how funny the movie is.
It is. It's hilarious.
It was actually the last. See, John Hughes is only going to direct one more movie in 1994. It's called Curly Sue.
Cute movie.
Yeah, not bad.
It's not like you're like, oh, that's a John Hughes movie.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a John Hughes movie.
Right.
But John Hughes had made so much money from Home Alone, from being the writer and the producer of the film. The movie made $500 million. He never had to work again a day in his life. But yeah, Uncle Buck that's a special film.
Yeah, I agree. I agree so much. I love when he goes to see the mean teacher.
Yeah.
In her office and throws her a quarter.
It's
so great.
The teacher or the principal, vice principal, or
whatever she is,
the guidance counselor, or whatever. She's sitting down to have a conversation. Uncle Buck's there because we'll just say for the sake of this that she's like a principal, and she's called a meeting because his niece Maisie, who's 6 years old, is not taking her academic career serious.
She's 6.
And that's what he says. She goes, she's a twiddler, she's a daydreamer. She's not taking her academic career serious. And Buck's like, she's 6 years old.
Yeah. Why?
I don't think I want to know a 6-year-old that takes their academic career.
Thank you. And he's right.
He's right.
And there's people in schools that say that kind of crap. And like, I don't want my kid saying that. I don't want them. I want them to be a dreamer.
It's a great scene where he has to go to the bathroom. He has to go to the in the elementary school, and all the urinals are tiny.
Yes, they're like a foot off the ground. Oh yeah.
So
yeah, Uncle Buck.
Great film, absolutely great movie.
Yeah, I don't know why we ended up talking about John Candy earlier, but there's so many John Candy movies that I love, but probably my favorite, which isn't just a John Candy movie, because he has a sidekick in this one. And I have one trivia question for you for this movie once we uncover the movie. And this one has so many scenes from the old 96er.
Oh, I already know what you're talking about. Yeah. Old 96er, you're talking about The Great Outdoors.
Absolutely.
So The Great Outdoors John Candy, Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd.
Two of them working together. So Dan Aykroyd plays Roman.
Uncle Roman. So the premise of the film is John Candy's taken his family. It's his normal family.
His normal
Very
nuclear
simple.
family. His wife, he's got two boys. They're both teenagers, and they're taking him to a cabin, in the wilderness, the Great White North. I believe they're actually in Canada. I think that's where they're supposed to. It's supposed to
Right.
like they're in the wilderness, and it's just supposed to be a week of just they're gonna just go hiking, rent a pontoon boat, and out of nowhere, Dan Aykroyd shows up. Uncle Roman shows up, and he's like this.
Oh, money rich.
He's like,
Cool.
he's showing up this beautiful Mercedes. He's got his
hair,
his wife Annette Bening, and
they're hot.
They're
The kids
hot.
everything's perfectly dressed in fancy clothes.
You just
fancy
keep wearing the Rolex and everything. But what's really interesting, when you watch the film a couple times, you understand Dan Aykroyd's motivation. He never actually pays for anything.
Yeah, right. But early in the movie, you're not really paying attention to that.
Yeah.
But it's there.
Yeah. So there's a scene where John Candy is at the bar. They're at the bar, and
John Candy's not loaded.
He's not loaded at all.
He's very simple.
Yeah, he's regular middle class.
Right.
Middle class.
And Dan Aykroyd's got
all the money in the world.
Rich.
All the money in the world.
Okay.
There's a scene when they're at the bar, and Dan Aykroyd says, I'm going to go to the bathroom. Take care of the tab, will you? And when they go to that restaurant where John Candy eats the old 96er.
Best scene
of the movie. Yes. But the whole thing is Dan Aykroyd. It's one of those films where, as somebody who's been in the restaurant industry for 30 years, I hate when movies get things wrong. Like when they get in a restaurant.
Yeah.
But that scene in the beginning when they're at that restaurant is very accurate. When they're going over the menu, and John Candy's wife's like, I'm going to get this particular salad, and he goes, I'll split that with you. Oh yeah, no, that's great. And I'm like, yep, that's real restaurant lingo.
Yeah, that's pretty normal.
And then you get Dan Aykroyd. Excuse me, what's the old 96er? Well, that's our 96-ounce ball punion prime beef.
Most expensive thing on the menu.
And if you or anyone in your party orders it and finishes it, everyone eats for free. There it is.
That's why I jumped on it.
That's why he jumped on it.
Yes, he's getting it, and he gets the shirt. I love it though when he's done. He's like he's sweating. He's ate the whole steak.
There's
everything.
still fat and gristle left over.
He thinks he's done, and they come out and they go, "No, everything,
everything." And he goes, "No problem. If I can get a dessert down him, you think you throw in a few Paul Bunyan hats for the kids?"
Bon appetit.
There's an ongoing. There's so many individual scenes that are so funny.
The bat in the house.
The bat, the bear, the bald-headed bear.
Because didn't it get shotgun by the crazy old guy or something?
No, because John Candy tells that story at the beginning. Scary story about when him and his wife were up there honeymooning, and the bear broke in, and he picked up the shotgun, and he's like, "Did you kill it? No, it's shotgun's a buckshot. It just shaved it." The bald-headed bear of Clay County, and then the bald-headed bear shows up.
Yes,
it's brilliant.
I love the scene when they're trying to get the bat.
They're trying to get the bat.
That's funny. Everyone's on board. He's got a tennis racket, and
there's a scene where they're talking to the guy who's been struck by lightning, and like, how many times have you been struck by lightning? He's like six times. He goes 66 times.
I love,
and then you actually see him get struck by lightning later on in the movie.
I love old movies, 80s, 70s, 80s movies when there's comics that stuttered.
Yeah,
you don't see that either.
Yeah, no.
No,
yeah, you can't do that anymore.
I know, you would upset people that stutter.
Yeah.
So here's my trivia.
Okay.
There's a scene. Beautiful mountains.
Okay.
Beautiful lake.
Uh-huh.
And Uncle Roman, I think John Candy wants to do something fun in the lake. Swim or...
He wants to rent a pontoon boat.
Yeah, exactly. Very simple.
Yeah.
A lot less money. And old Uncle Roman's like, no way.
We're getting a jet boat. It's this boat with this big giant engine sticking out.
Super speed jet, like literal jet boat, right? That should not be on that lake.
Yeah.
And the scene's hilarious because John Candy's like, whatever. He gives in and he's trying to teach, the kids how to like ski.
Water ski. Trouble. What do you do? Let go of the rope.
Yeah. As he's holding it and he's waving or whatever. Dan Aykroyd's like, oh, he's ready. Yeah. Go. And then that's, stupid scene where he's just holding on for dear life. And I'm sure
he never lets go of the rope, by the way.
Right. He doesn't do what he told his daughter to do. And I'm sure it's a professional. That's one thing that's kind of like.
Well, this water skis break off and he starts skiing just barefoot.
Awesome.
It's incredible.
That's great. But the trivia question is, what's the name of the boat?
Oh God! I know it says it too in the movie, and
There's two movies that I have in my world.
Okay.
That this is one of them, and the other one is from Dumb and Dumber.
Okay.
Where if you don't hit pause, you used to be able to hit pause and rewind a VHS.
Yeah.
Now it's easy, but you'd have to hit pause and go back and stop it so you could see what it said. But there's a name on a boat, and then the other one's Dumb and Dumber. I'll give you Dumb and Dumber after this.
Okay.
If you can figure out.
I can't. No. What was the name?
Suck My Wake.
I knew that.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I've always wanted to name like a team thing, Suck My Wake.
Yeah.
Or buy a boat and put that on there.
Suck My Wake.
Suck My Wake. That's got to be a website. Someone's got to have that as a website. Okay. Here's the other one. Sidetrack. Side note. In Dumb and Dumber, they're in the diner. And old Seabass in the corner's like waving. Oh, I'll pay.
Yeah.
Oh, is that Seabass? He's paying.
Well, if that's Seabass and he just goes.
Oh, yeah. Because Seabass wants another round
he
or whatever.
thinks they're getting around to Boilermakers.
But they're like, oh, he's paying. They're trying to sneak out.
And even the lady working the register, she can't believe it. Yeah. She's like, Seabass said that?
And he's like,
if that's Seabass over there, he's just pointing at him.
He wants another round. What does Seabass's hat say?
Oh, I know the answer to this one. Wine 'em, dine 'em, 69 'em.
Yes.
And who plays Seabass?
That is a Detroit Red Wings.
Boston Bruin.
Boston Bruin is, oh, gosh. Give me...
Probably the most famous
Boston Bruin
from the late 80s, early 90s.
Cam Neely.
Cam Neely's correct.
Boom. Yeah, and the only reason why I know that, listeners, is because I played Sega Hockey NHL 1993 a lot.
Yeah.
He had to have played in the 90s because
he was awesome
90s,
too.
Yes.
That's back when hockey was hockey.
I think he was number 8. I'm trying to visualize, but anyway.
Hockey was better back then.
Yeah.
It was 30 years ago.
Sega Hockey 93.
Yep.
One of the greatest sports games.
I tried to play like NHL 23 on the Xbox the other day. I was like, this is too complicated.
Too many buttons.
Give me 2 buttons.
Yeah, too many buttons. So we used to play that game in 90, let's just say 92. So whatever, 93. So yeah, it had to have been 93. All right, whatever. We would have Bud Ice beers.
Yeah.
You remember when all the ice beers came out?
Yeah, 5.9%. Yeah.
Higher alcohol. So Ice House, Bud Ice.
Yeah.
And I have no idea, but we would crush Twizzlers and drink Bud Ice, and then we go eat Taco Bell after. I don't know what was going on back then.
I miss the 90s.
Oh.
And you know what? Bud Ice, Ice House, that was cheap beer back then too.
I know, yeah.
In fact, Bud Ice was cheaper than regular Bud Light.
Really?
Yeah. It makes no sense.
Now it doesn't make sense.
No.
It's like the opposite because it has more alcohol. Man, my phone's blowing up. I got to put it on silent. So I miss the 90s. I miss the 80s.
I do too.
We're getting old. Hey, I'm 49 and I have an 8-year-old finishing 2nd grade.
I'm 46 and don't have kids, but I'm still 46.
That a boy. I know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What are we going to do?
Yeah. Listen.
Hey, so...
But you know what? Something I do like being able to do?
What's that?
I'm an adult.
You are.
I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
You
could take a nap right now.
Like when
no one's going to tell you what to...
When you're in your 40s, you've lived life long enough that you've gained enough age, wisdom, and experience that you know what you like, you know what you don't like. You're not going to settle for something. You're not going to put yourself in a position where you're not going to enjoy yourself. You're just going to say no to things.
Sure.
Like when I'm at work, people, coworkers were always like, hey, listen, we're going to go do this after work. You want to come? I'm like, no, I'm good.
Nah, I'm good.
Nah, I'm good. I'm going to go out. I'm going to go home.
Funny story. So I'm in medical sales.
Yeah.
And the medical world, they love to simulate sales scenarios, which in our world they call it role playing.
Sure.
Right. And and seasoned sales reps can't stand this because it's not real, it's fake, right? And it's just absolutely ridiculous. I understand practicing and reading and verbalizing. I get all that. But the whole like role playing is just garbage. So anyway, we're training. We're up there in New Jersey or wherever the hell we are. It's always up there in like New Jersey or New York. But anyway, we're up there at one company. I've worked for a million companies, as you know.
Yeah.
And I'm going through training, and we're up there, and it's me, and we kind of befriend three of us. We all kind of join together. It's all three of us. And it was in Princeton. So we were in Princeton because I remember one time we went to this pizza place and we drive through the campus of Princeton.
Oh, wow. Oh.
And we're driving through, and my one buddy is kind of like, an old athlete, meathead. He rolls the window down and he's like, all these guys, they're all Princeton. He just rolls the window down. He's like, nerds. From Revenge of the Nerds. He's like, you're nerds. I'm like, no, they're not. They're going to be all over our doctors one day. But thank you for all the Princeton graduates. That is a shout out of love right there. But anyway, now I forgot the damn story. So we go back to the hotel for that whole day of training, 8 hours of training. We've already been talking about this fake sales scenario all day. And the trainer comes in and goes, hey, she points at all three of us. If you guys want to practice some more in the lobby, I'd be more than welcome to do some verbalization. And my friend looks at her and goes, no, it's cool. I'm 40. That's it. That was his answer. No, I'm 40. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't need to fake practice more.
No, like when I was in my early 20s,
That's Teddy DeFranco. Attaboy.
When I was in my early 20s, there were things that I wanted to do, but I couldn't afford to.
Right.
Now that I'm in my 40s, things are a little bit more established. It's like if the girlfriend and if myself and my girlfriend, we want to go to Phoenix for a week, we go.
Oh, yeah. Right. Who's going to tell you no?
Yeah, it's great.
No. Yep.
It's great.
Hey, so I'm looking at our third seat here. I know we're probably kind of wrapping up here, but I wanted to kind of do a recap of some shows I'm watching.
Yeah, go.
And just get your take on which one maybe you might watch. Because sometimes I'm ahead of you on series. Because Dana has like a laundry list of things. Dana's always busy.
Yeah.
Sometimes Dana doesn't have time to watch the show. I have a lot of free time. So I probably have 2 shows that I'm watching right now. But I'm looking at this third seat. Before I get to that, I'm looking at this third seat, and we kind of got a hot seat. I want to either get Rob Main or Bill Blankenship in that seat if I can one day.
We can make that happen.
Bill's been blowing me up this whole show. I want to ask you about a movie that he had me watch.
Okay.
Have you ever watched Shot Caller?
I haven't, but I've heard of it. I've heard good things about that movie, actually.
There's a connection to something, if it's a book or from... You know what it is? I think it's either a prequel or a sequel to a more famous movie that you don't know. They don't make it a thing that it's connected to some other movie. He might know. If I can get him to call in, I'd love to get him in that hot seat, like live, so we can point at him. But if he could call in, I might ask him a few questions. We'll see if he could call. But anyway, Shot Caller is a movie where it starts out, the main character is a mortgage broker. And he's just successful, normal mortgage broker, single life, got some other friends, and they're kind of drinking and socializing. One night, have too many drinks. They're just driving home from the bar. Not too many drinks, but like just enough. He's not drunk.
Right.
And they get rear-ended or sideswiped on their way home from that bar. And the 2 people in the back seat, the other couple, die.
Oh.
Right. And he gets thrown in jail, which, again, did not... Oh, here it comes.
Are you getting a phone call?
Yeah. I guess I lit a fire. It's Bill. It's not Rob.
Oh, okay.
It's Bill.
Put him on speaker.
All right, I got him. Bill.
Billy boy.
Hey, Bill. Bill, DanaBuckler here. You're actually live on the DanaBuckler show right now. We're recording. How are you, sir?
Good, Dana. How are you?
I'm good.
Can you hear him on the...
I can hear him on my headphones.
Great.
Absolutely. Cool. We're live on the air.
Live. I love it. Let's go.
Say hello to everybody. Say hello to the TPC. No, I'm just kidding. They're not listening.
I don't have anybody I want to talk to except for you, Bill, and you, Dana.
That's very nice. Say, Bill, Cersei, tell Bill what we were just talking about.
Well, and you haven't been here yet, but Dana's new studio is legit. I mean, we have a podcast studio here, and he's gone from a 2-seater to a 3-seater, and there's a third seat that's kind of like I'm calling it the hot seat. I just said I need Bill Blankenship or Rob Main to sit in that hot seat so we can pick your guys' brain of some of your favorite movies. And I brought up that movie Shot Caller.
Yes. Oh yeah. Okay.
Dana doesn't know much about it. Okay, so let me give you a little bit of heads up here. Dana doesn't know much about it. And I think it's a prequel or a sequel to something else. And I just kind of started with the theme of the movie. So just give Dana kind of your thoughts about it and what kind of goes on.
Yeah, I don't know about the prequel or sequel. Somebody had mentioned that to me and you, Bill. I don't know what that is.
I'll look that up, but give Dana kind of a heads up of the movie.
Yeah, so Dana, this is a movie that obviously it wasn't on a lot of people's radars. It wasn't on mine either. I just kind of tripped across it, and I said, I'm just gonna check this out. And after I watched, I told Bill, I'm like, you have to watch this movie. And I don't know the rules of the game here. I don't want to give away any
spoilers. What Dana will tell you right now.
Well, I mean, we can talk about the premise of the movie without getting into the outcome.
Yeah, so you could give a good amount of information.
Okay, all right. Just shut me off if you hear me going in a direction you don't want me to. But essentially, what this is there's a guy, and we can kind of all relate to him. This guy's probably, I don't know, I'd say late 30s, early 40s, young professional guy, very successful, beautiful wife, family. He's just living the dream, and literally just makes this life-changing mistake that could have happened to anybody, and basically the guy gets sentenced to prison. And essentially the storyline, again, I don't want to give away too much of it, but what this guy has to become to survive in this prison atmosphere is just kind of shocking. And it basically just shows the transformation of this guy, what he was and what he became, and then literally what he had to do to protect his family on the outside. Even when he got out, he had to do some pretty serious things like turn his back on his family just to protect them from getting killed. Bill, do you remember? You know what I'm talking about?
Wow.
Yeah, it's so deep. This movie is so deep. And when I first started it, after you telling me, I was like, man, I don't know. But when you watch the whole thing, this is a great movie.
Can I tell you something? Like, I'm sorry, Dan.
He becomes the most dangerous man on the planet of prisons.
He basically becomes the top guy within the Aryan Brotherhood.
Okay.
Let's just put it
All right. Say no more. Say no more. Say no more.
Done. Yeah.
It is incredible to watch, and I got to be honest with you. Like, it's depressing, but you can't not watch it. Like, you can't take your eyes off it. You can't stop. It's one of these movies, and I don't do this often, that's kind of in my queue, and I've rewatched it probably 4 or 5 different times. It's that good.
That movie is made it to the top of my list. I'm going to make it a point to try to watch it tonight. I've heard of it, Bill, but I like you said, not on everyone's radar, and it might have been something that I just overlooked quite a bit, and it might have just been the title of the movie. I just didn't associate the title of the movie with sort of the description of how, what the movie's actually about. So I'm going to watch it tonight.
That title threw me off too. It's kind of like
hold on, I'll stop you, Bill, and then I'll tee you up. This is Bill's other favorite movie, or one of his top 3. This is the same problem with that other movie. Go ahead.
True Romance.
Well,
correct.
Yeah, well,
bad title.
Bad title.
That's what I mean.
It's interesting you say that, because when I describe True Romance to people that haven't seen it, I have to always tee up by telling them the title doesn't really reflect what the movie is about. And the thing is,
Bill, what did I tell you when I described that movie to you? Same thing, right?
Same exact thing.
But I also tell everyone,
but there is a romance.
If you watch the first 15 to 20 minutes of this movie, you're going to suspect that this is just a straight-on romance movie. you're not going to be prepared for the drastic turn that the movie makes once he meets Drexel. And then it becomes, but
same with this movie.
But now all I have to do is tell people, well, it's written by Quentin Tarantino and directed by Tony Scott. And that usually sells everyone on it.
Exactly.
Oh, 100%. And good Lord, how good was Drexel's character in that movie? My God.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
And that was Gary Oldman.
Oh, yeah. But you would, if you had to pick 5 to 10 actors that you when you watch that movie and you're picking who that actor actually is in the movie, you might not say Gary Oldman because of the makeup and the hair. You don't even know that that's him. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's that good.
Yeah.
He's that good. Well, in kind of closing, I don't want to forget to say, in the movie Shot Caller, Dana, the acting is so good in it. Like, there's nobody in there where you're just the lead character. I don't even really know the guy. He's phenomenal.
He's been in something else though. I'll tee it up when we hang up. We'll tee it up and kind of he's in something else that's kind of big. We'll find him.
I think across the board though, the acting, like usually I'll get turned off, and if the acting's not really good, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm not into this. But the acting was so good in Shot Caller that I was just hooked from the beginning. And I mean, there's a lot of good actors in that movie. John Barenthal's in it. You remember him, obviously.
Yeah, we're on it. Dana's already on it now.
Yeah, John Bernthal. Yeah,
Yep.
he's terrific. He's great in The Wolf of Wall Street. He's the Punisher on the Netflix show, The Punisher.
There you go.
Yeah, but he's
Dana's on it. Dana's going to watch the show.
I'm on it. I'm going to watch it tonight.
You got him, Bill. And for the record, since we got a hold of Bill, Bill's going to be first in that hot seat, I think, next show.
Absolutely. We're going to set that up.
Thank you, Bill.
Guys, I'd love to do it.
You're the man. Thanks, Bill.
Hey, Bill, sorry I missed you on Saturday. They told me you were there, and by the time I got finished up, you were gone.
That's okay.
How was that show? That was a good show.
I figured you big Tommy, Dana. I'm just kidding. No, that show was great. I was Bill. It was unbelievable. We had a great time.
Cool. Thank you, Bill.
You guys have a good day.
All right, thanks, Bill.
Later, buddy.
Well, that was nice.
He actually, well, one, he loves your show. I got him onto it.
Oh, yeah. No, I appreciate that, sincerely.
Out of all my friends, Bill has probably listened to almost all your podcasts.
That's incredible. That means a lot.
He has. I'm not joking. He loves it.
Well, when we did the dinner and a movie where we showed We Are Marshall.
Yeah, that was his.
Listen.
Yeah.
I could have listened to that guy talk about, the history of that. I didn't.
Bill?
Yeah. It was awesome.
I mean, Bill went to Marshall. And, I mean, obviously, he's a super smart guy. He's serious. He's never going to say something he doesn't mean.
Yeah.
And for him to call it, whenever he tells me about a movie, I watch it.
I'm going to watch that tonight, and I'm actually really looking forward to it.
It's deep. It's heavy. You learn a lot about real prison.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the name threw me off.
Same thing.
I was just like, I'm not,
It's crazy.
Yeah, the name threw me off.
Let's come
so
up
did
with
the Terminator. No, I'm just kidding. So did Jaws.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know what I was watching.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know what I was watching. All right, well, Bill, that was a good episode.
We went from comedy to prison. What else do you want?
Absolutely. So next week we'll be talking about the Green Mile, the Shawshank Redemption, and what other prison movies do we have? Escape from Alcatraz. It's going to be it's going to be a good one. Bill, thanks for doing the show as always.
Thanks for having me. I love it. Love you, everyone that listens. And again, Dollar Bill Golf Instagram or TikTok. I keep saying it because I like kind of interacting with everyone out there.
Yeah.
And throw us an email. Give us some more movies to watch.
Email the DanaBuckler Show at gmail.com. I'm on Instagram at the DanaBuckler.
We need to start making some swag.
Yeah, we do. I was thinking about getting some stickers made. Maybe a button.
Don't joke.
I'm not joking.
And we can give, because I love giving back. So let's say we have some cool swag, right? Half the money we just give the charity, and then the half we put back in more swag.
You know what? I'm going to do something nice. All right. If you're listening to this episode, you've made it all the way here. I want you to email Bill and I.
Okay.
I want you to give us 3 examples of when movies were movies. 3 examples. All right. And we will decide which one we like. We'll.
How about the watch again? We'll watch a million times and don't want to see it again. I'll give you that. If we get 3, I'll give you that for my 3.
Okay. Well,
And then
no.
you can rate it.
What I'm saying is, I want people to write in with 3 movies that would fall into the category of when movies were movies.
Okay. Yeah.
Give us 3.
Okay.
And then of all those emails, we're going to randomly pick someone, and I'm going to send them an Amazon gift card.
Oh,
just for being a listener.
There we go. That's giving back.
Yeah. So we'll give a little something back, and then they can. But I also love the idea of the swag.
Yeah. No, I'm a huge marketer at heart, and we're actually starting to do it with my other group. And listen, if I make any money on anything, half's going to charity.
Yep. And
I don't want it. I don't need it. I want to give it back.
That's right. So we'll do the same thing here.
Fine.
So we'll pick a charity that.
I like local charities.
Local, yeah, of course.
Yeah, right.
Local, like Humane Society, something like that.
Sure,
something to help the cats and dogs.
Helping Hands is great here in
town. Yeah.
Interfaith. I mean, there's a ton of great charities. Good people in Ocala.
You're reminding me of the scene in Three Amigos when they're talking about the 3 of them are laying in bed and they're talking about what they're going to do with their share of the money. Steve Martin goes, "I'm going to get a car, a big shiny car," and Chevy Chase goes, "Oh, Paris, Rome." Living the good life for a while. And Martin Short's like, "I'm going to open an orphanage." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, no, we were going to do that too."
That's what we meant. We meant that. Yeah.
I'm like, Humane Society, help the cats and dogs, like Helping Hands. I'm like, yeah, no, that's good also.
Yes.
That's awesome. All right, Bill, thanks, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We'll do this again. Hey, seriously, send those emails in.
Yep, we'll pick one.
We'll pick one. We'll send you a gift card, and we'll
cover them.
And we'll start doing some giveaways after every episode.
I love it.
All right, let's do it. All right, everybody, until next time.